Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all. Is 3D worth it?
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Is 3D worth it?
I didn't know you had a John Candy impression. I've never heard your John Candy.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was great. That's why I burst into delight.
I was trying to capture the spirit.
Yeah, that's what John Candy is. He's a
John
spirit.
Candy. Yeah, that's true. He is a spirit.
Well,
he watches over comedy now. Yes.
Gone, but yes, that also is true.
His spirit remains. He loomed large in the world of comedy, is one of its greatest talents, and we are lucky to have his body of work and that his family continues to carry on his legacy and honor him and make sure he's out there in the conversations. Well, he should be.
Here's to John Candy.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We're out of here.
We're done. This topic is closed. John Candy is awesome, but there's another topic to discuss. And here's how I know that this is a good topic, Hal, because when we mentioned to Ken right before recording what this topic was, the two of you started arguing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, great. This is exactly what I want to happen with this show. And if I may, you know what? No, I'm going to hold that thought. I'm going to hold that thought until a little later on. Yeah. We are talking today about 3D. Why did you have the visceral reaction? I actually pitched a different topic to you and you saw 3D and then laid in.
Well, we've had 3D versus 2D animation on the list for a while. That's not what this is. So what we say is 3D worth it. We mean, and I guess animation has been pulled into this somewhat. When you go to see a movie, there are often 3D showings and there are 2D showings. So we are answering the question, is it worth it to pay extra for a 3D ticket? And keep in mind, the technology of 3D now is much different than it was when it was introduced in the late 1940s, was it 1948, something like that?
Oh, don't worry. We'll get to the history. 22.
Okay. 1922?
Yeah.
I assume using the same technology or concept that's behind a stereoscope.
Exactly.
Where things appear like they're coming at you. But the red and blue 3D glasses, that really became popular in like the 50s, 60s. And people were making these 3D horror films. And the whole idea was something was coming right at you. There is famously a movie called Ape, and that is A*P*E, which came out in 1976, produced in Seoul, South Korea. It is a take on King Kong, which also had a revival that year with Jeff Bridges and Glenn Close, I believe.
It was Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange, thank you.
Yeah.
This one, Ape, starred a young Joanna Kearns from Growing Pains, who was credited as Joanna de Verona, and nobody else famous. And the ape, who's in the beginning, everybody's dubbed. And in the beginning, they're on it starts on a boat, and then the ape breaks loose. And one of them goes, imagine I think it's almost 27 feet tall. And then you see a hand pop through a hatch. And this, when I tell you this ape is a man in an ape suit, what I mean is this ape is a man in an ape suit that is at least one size too big, that has a hole under the arm where you can see the t-shirt come through. Sleeves are a little short and separating from the gloves. You can see the eyes come through, but it was filmed to be in 3D. I don't think it was released in 3D. I think they ran out of money. So there are a lot of shots of the ape and he's waving his arms around and then he's throwing rocks. But when he throws a rock, it is on a fishing line with a hook on it and it comes towards the camera. And were you wearing 3D glasses, you would go, oh, you would jump because it's coming right at you. And that is the concept of 3D as it existed earlier. It was a way to like scare you or have stuff come right at you, make you feel like things were in the room. Muppet Vision 3D is maybe the only application of that technology I've ever seen that I thought, oh, that was really cool. By and large, for me, I don't want somebody throwing stuff at my face while I'm watching a movie. And the modern interpretation of it feels like an attempt to immerse you in the film by creating additional depth of field. So things in the foreground and in the background and people walking in between them, it has an added layer of depth to it. But to me, I would argue that it looks like a pop-up book or one of those greeting cards that you open that all of a sudden is three-dimensional, and it doesn't feel real, and it winds up taking me out of films more than it puts me in them by and large. And I will stop ranting now because it's called We Got This with Mark and Hal, not We Got This with Hal's opinion, and then Hal agrees with it.
Well, look, first of all, this movie, Ape, points out the thing that I was going to say before. It illustrates it perfectly right now, and why I think this is a fun topic for us to do. There is a notion that 3D is the ketchup on the hot dog. Our very first episode ever, should you put ketchup on a hot dog? The notion that back in the 1950s, 3D was going to fix bad movies. Look, we know the script's bad. We know we don't have the budget to make this thing as great as we want to. So let's just make a 3D version of it. So this happens back in 1952. But here's what's wild to me about 3D. It's been cyclical. And it's been cyclical. Now we're going to jump into a little bit of the history of it. It's been on a 30-year cycle since 1922. So 1922, the first 3D movie comes out, yes, based on the stereoscope, and it was a green lens and a red lens. In fact, one thing that was really cool about it was, here's this stereoscopic effect, but at the end of the movie, because it's a silent movie, you don't have to hear the sound. At the end of the movie, it's no longer a stereoscopic movie. It's a choose your own adventure. You can decide which of your eyes to close or cover, and you will see a different version of the ending of that movie.
Fascinating.
So that, I think, is a super cool way of using the two different projectors. But because it has to have two projectors, it's not able to be done in lots of theaters. There's not many places that can do this.
Expensive.
Yeah, super expensive. But the pattern is there's a new technology, and then that new technology is in a few crummy movies, and then one good movie, and then a bunch of other movies want to do it because the one good movie did it, and then the fad dies out. It happened in 1922, happened in 1952, it happened in 1982, and it happened in 2011. Like, it's literally almost to the year every 30 years this happens. So this old version is the one you've seen in comic books, which is the red and the blue. Yeah. The old movies in the 50s were usually not that version. The re-releases were because it was cheaper to do red and blue lenses, but those were actually the polarized ones, similar to the ones you'd see at Disney World in like Captain EO and the theme park shows, which had their own whole other thing. We're talking about features right now. We're talking about feature movies, this cycle of every 30 years. So that polarization was in the 1950s. That was the technology in the 50s that they got that lasted for a couple of years. It was a terrible movie at first. This one movie was critically panned, but blew up at the box office because of the 3D.
House of Wax?
No, before House of Wax. House of Wax was one of the good ones.
Right.
And Vincent Price did he was the one, he did more 3D movies than any other star. And I love that all of this huge wave of 3D, we think about 3D movies in the 1950s. It was 3 years. It was 52, 53, and 54. That was when they all came out. So the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, a piece very near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Was originally one of these 3D movies. So that's the technology that happens in the 50s. Then I don't know what the new technology was for the resurgence in the early 80s, but something happened and, or maybe it was, you know what? I think it's also not just the new technology coming in. It's the threat coming in, because the threat in 1952 was television. The threat in 1982 was VHS, and the threat in 2012 or 2011, which was the year that had more 3D movies come out than any other. The threat that year was digital. Everybody's watching stuff at home or on their phones. So each time this has been an attempt to get people into movie theaters. The 80s version, I would argue, was one of the more fun ones because that's when the horror movies did their Amityville 3D and Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th 3D. That was that run. But then what you were talking about,
longer run, because I think Freddy's Dead might have been the
89, something like
Street,
that.
Somewhere in 89. And also another thing,
when they all burst out of his stomach and you're waving around the movie theater at all the little Freddy heads that are floating around.
The movie I mentioned was from 1976. So there were some movies. It wasn't as big a deal, but also
there were some popping up.
Each decade, you're always about 2 decades back in terms of where your nostalgia is, right? So the 70s was a resurgence of the 50s. You saw that with Happy Days a little bit, even though that's early 60s. Saw it with Grease. Like there's this early 60s, 1950s kind of obsession that carries into the 80s. And then by the end of the 80s, we're getting into the Monkees are back on television, and we're celebrating Woodstock, and hippie culture in the 1960s comes around and becomes big. And that lasts for about 5 to 7 years. We're in a time right now when what's being celebrated is an era of time that occurred when both you and I had already graduated college.
Wait. I graduated college 2001. It feels like a very 90s time right now.
Right. Well, it's 2025. 90s are still in, but we're creeping into those early 2000s. Are we creeping into
nostalgia for the early 2000s?
I think we are. I think we're getting there.
Well, it was in that decade of the early 2000s, Hal, that the big one of these happened. And that was Avatar, 2009. So the version of 3D that you don't like, the version of 3D that you said feels like you're looking at flats. You're looking at a pop-up book.
Yes.
The big difference was Avatar was shot with cameras that were stereoscopic cameras that were looking out both eyes for 3D effects. And then all of this other digital wizardry that made it super, super deep 3D. Most everything, this was when digital 3D became a thing. And digital 3D is you take a movie that was shot in 2D and you digitally render it in 3 dimensions. I remember the first one that I saw of these was that Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. I thought it worked because, they all look like playing cards. But yeah, if you didn't stereoscopically shoot a face, that face is not going to look right. You know what I mean?
Sure. For me, so the trailer's out now for, what is it, the third Avatar movie, I think? Which is like they've done Way of Water was the second one. This one's like Fire Walk With Me.
Yeah.
It's something fire based, like the fire.
The face of fire. There's the Way of Water, the face of fire.
Face of fire. There you go.
The Ears of Earth.
Ears of Earth.
And then the Water of Wind, which is a confusing one.
Yeah. I watched that trailer. I was like, I don't know anything that's going on in this. And I've never felt more at peace with not knowing anything. Because I'm sure I've said on this podcast before, I watched 15 minutes of the original Avatar.
Yeah.
And then had this incredible moment of freedom where I realized I didn't have to watch any more of it. And I walked out of the room, and my life has just gotten better since then.
Yeah, that's called a Kardashian nirvana. That moment when you're watching something on a screen and you go, I don't have to care about this. And you get up and walk away.
Yeah. Save your caring for Below Deck.
Yeah.
A good reality show. Break out all the toys. You deckheads out there know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
Are you a fan of 3D?
I'm a fan of 3D when 3D knows it's a gimmick or when it knows it's art. You know what I mean?
Give me an example of both.
Okay. An example of 3D as art would be Avatar.
Okay.
That is James Cameron going, I'm going to use every piece of technology I can to immerse you in a world. I think he earnestly believes that. I think he creates his craft with that in mind, using the best stereoscopic technology to make his 3D movies. I also love 3D that knows it's a gimmick, and that's usually the short form 3D stuff. That's your Captain's EO, your old Kodak theater at Disney World in Florida with If You Had Wings, and all those classic, like, where the 3D movie is the attraction. Like
Star Tours.
3D is an attraction. Like, well, Star Tours added 3D later on. It wasn't originally in 3D.
Right. But now it is. Yeah.
But now it is. Yeah. But all of these things where the attraction is the 3D and I don't have to do it for 2 hours. Cause I'm one of these guys who it makes the movie look darker, and we'll get into all the negatives of 3D at some point where we can just rant about it. But suffice to say, the movie looks darker and I might get a headache after 2 hours. But a 3D movie the length of, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Great. Love it. Yeah. And I was a huge Viewmaster kid, and I love like a stereoscope. I love like it's the length, like the law of diminishing returns on 3D for me happens pretty quickly, but it starts pretty high. You know what I mean? It's diminishing from a pretty high pinnacle for me.
I say, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think that Captain EO, which is a jumbled mess, is very bad? Our guests.
Oh, wait, sorry. But before we go into this, I want to add one more that I want to make sure that I did not forget to mention. And you already mentioned it. And that's Muppet Vision 3D. I think that's the best example of it knowing that it's a gimmick.
If it was best 3D movie, that would win hands down.
Hands down. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Please continue about Captain EO.
I was going to say our guest in the episode. So we're recording this on the 23rd of September, and the episode dropping tonight is with Dan Larson from Secret Galaxy, who of course I am a super fan of. And there is a video about Captain EO and the production of it, and what a huge mess it was.
Oh no.
From like George Lucas being hands on, hands off, to Francis Ford Coppola not being equipped to deal with what's going on, to Michael Jackson being Michael Jackson. Like really the best part of that whole thing is him performing Another Part of Me, which I actually like as a song.
Yeah. And we're here to change the world. Come on, Angelica. Look, the best. Okay. I will say that if it's not
Oscar
in
winner.
the Muppets, Oscar winner, if it's not in Muppet Vision 3D, then the best 3D effect in a movie, unlike your rocks getting thrown in Ape, is Angelica Houston tangled up in cables as like a robot space Tron witch, just angling her giant fingernails at you going, "You think me beautiful?" is the most, like, oh, who's that? Terrified I was as a kid. There's so many feelings all at once, Hal.
Do you think, as not a child who has now had time to digest it and be an adult, understanding it probably has a very special place in your heart as a Disney cast member and Disney file your entire life, do you think that Captain EO is made better by 3D? Does it take what I assume we agree is not the best that anybody involved in it had to offer? Does it make it better, really? Or does it just make it, this sucks, but also it's 3D?
I would argue with the notion that it sucks.
Okay.
I happen to like this particular hot dog.
I say.
And in this case, I don't want to look at it through my lens now, knowing what I know as an adult in my 40s. I want to look at it through the lens that I looked at all of these movies when I was a kid, is that sense of wonder. And yeah, I think that the moment in that I remember most from seeing it as a kid is when the little half butterfly, half Furby thing that flies around, who's delightful and adorable, is just flying around in the audience. And I was a kid reaching out and grabbing for it. And I remember that. And it was fun, and it brought me into the story. Yeah.
So in that case, the 3D was a huge enhancement because of the butterfly bear flying
because
around.
Of the gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah, that gimmick of it you liked. Let me ask you this. You grew up with an older brother.
Yeah.
Who delighted in torturing you, and it does to the extent that he told me a way to creep you out.
Oh no.
That I would never do, but like told me like this, if you ever want to go do it, like telling me to go do it. Sorry, Gabe, I'm not going to blow up the spot here.
I know exactly what he told you to do.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Did he ever do try to get you to flinch? Like
all the time,
to hit
man.
you and get you to flinch? Yeah. Did you flinch all the time?
Yeah.
Did you like that feeling?
No, but if I'm seeing a 3D movie, it's my decision to get that feeling.
Do you like walking into a 3D movie and having it turn into your brother? Oh, you're here to watch Jaws? Flinched.
2 for flinching.
Yeah, that he gets to chomp you twice. Jaws does.
Look, well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do theaters need gimmicks?
No.
In a day and age when people aren't going to the cinema, do theaters need gimmicks? You say you go in and it's the theater, the movie becomes your brother asking you to flinch. It's saying like it's getting a rise out of me. Whether or not it's a positive rise, it's getting a rise out of me.
My personal feeling on this is that movies in theaters it's sort of dying, and you see it in box office numbers. You see it as all these movies that are very good movies don't make as much money as they would have pre-pandemic. And part of that is because everybody realized, oh, I enjoy watching movies at home more. By and large, I do. Almost every movie I've seen in the theater, had it been available at home to watch, I would have paid more to watch it at home. I thought when Disney did that with Black Widow in 2021, I was like, this is brilliant. Because I will pay the price of basically 2 movie tickets in LA for Jennifer and I to be able to watch it at home as many times as we want. Like, that's a great deal. I'll happily pay that. The reason why I go to theaters is because there's a movie out that I really wanted to see Superman the day it came out, or as close as I could. So to me, I'm going to go see it in a theater. And I enjoy movie going as an experience because I went as a kid. I prefer to watch it at home. Were that an option, I would do that almost every time. IMAX I think is cool because of the scope of it, but you have to be sitting in a very specific area of the theater to really get the effect of it. Otherwise, you're too angled, you're too close, you're too far away.
Yeah.
So that to me doesn't work as well. If the sphere as a concept were turned into, I know they've done that. They did it with Wizard of Oz, which is that weird combination of this sort of singular viewing experience and also the 4DX of we're going to blow wind in your face.
Yeah, the expansion trying to watch outward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and all the
that
all
could
details.
be something, but even that's a gimmick. I don't think it needs gimmick. I think what it needs is good movies being made, and by that I mean.
But you even said good movies being made. You would still rather watch it at home.
I would, but I can't right now because they don't release them simultaneously. So
that's what's getting you into the theater is wanting to be part of the conversation about a movie when it comes out.
It's not that I need to be a part of the conversation though. It's that I want to see the movie. I'm excited to see Superman. I'm excited to see Fantastic Four First Steps. Yeah. I was excited to see Freakier Friday, and I went and saw it opening weekend for that reason. Like, I want to go. And the other thing, as crazy as it is, the most engaged in the conversation that I want to be is I want to give my money to support movies that I like, some of which are going to get made anyway because they're huge tentpole blockbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Others are smaller films that I just want to support and show like, yes, people are going to see this too.
Yeah.
And we desperately need at all times, because ultimately this is about telling stories. We need a ton of different voices and a ton of different movies being made. And the current studio system, which I think is going to collapse at some point under the weight of like corporation after corporation coming in to buy it and turn it into a profit center. Eventually we're going to move to what killed the early studio system, which is independent filmmakers, United Artists.
Yeah.
Was Fairbanks and Chaplin and Pickford coming together to start their own, to like gain freedom and start their own studio. That can and will happen again.
Yeah.
I believe.
Ron Perlman's doing it right now.
Yeah. There are all these people who are doing it. So there are films that are out there that need support. A lot of times with those movies, the only way you see them is they get to streaming because they go to festival after festival. Then you hope somebody acquires it to put it out on streaming, or you can sell it in those marketplaces to try to make some money. They don't get a big theatrical release because studios have turned into ledger sheets. And it doesn't mean there aren't creators making incredible things there, but at the end of the day, I just want to go see good movies, man. Like, I don't need them to be in 3D. I don't need the seat to shake. I don't need the screen to be wrapped around my head. I just want to see good stories being told on the screen. And if the only place I can see them and support them in their opening weekend is in the theater, I will do that. Fewer and fewer people are doing that because they know they can wait and it will show up on streaming, which is why you have these films that seem like a failure. And then you go, oh, wait, people love this because it's doing well in streaming. It's like a whole same thing with home video. Like same concept.
Well, that's why in 1982 they had that was the threat then. And then this is the threat now to going to theaters. But I think it's about, when I say be part of the conversation, I don't just mean like, I want to see it in the opening weekend so I can go online and talk about it. I mean, I want to be in the room where it happens, to quote Hamilton. It's it's the collective shared experience of being in a theater together and somebody yelling something funny during a trailer and the audience cheering when the name of the movie. You hate that?
Hate that.
Ah, come on. If it's a good one.
How often is it a good one? What do you think the batting average is on that?
Oh, the batting average is like whoever's batting 8th for the team that's in second in their division right now. Whatever that batting average is. I'm guessing like 187.
Yeah. I'm saying it's probably below the Mendoza line.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
But it's about being in that experience and having this moment together. And I think that 3D can do that. I think all of these different elements being added to a theater can do that. I think what it's about, though, is if it's about enhancing the experience in some way, that enhancement has to be worth it. You know what I mean? And that's the question that we're asking right now is 3D worth it? And I would push back at, you said at the top, you were like, is it worth the money, the extra upcharge? I don't think that's the question we're asking. I think it's, is it worth it to go to the theater for this experience if 3D is the draw? It wasn't just television in the mid 50s that ended 3D. It was CinemaScope, because CinemaScope was, They were like, oh, you're going to make the thing 3D front to back. We're going to make it wider. So we're going to give you a more vast panorama. And it turns out that's actually what people wanted. So movies got wider and wider and wider. And we haven't even really noticed that happening because we don't have to wear glasses for it to happen. But I would argue that it might, like, whatever it is that we're using to draw people in, you know, if the stories aren't doing it, then I want the stories to do it. Mm-hmm. I very much want the stories to be what draws people into the movie theaters. But if you need something to stay afloat, he said while chomping on a cigar in a linen suit, standing in front of an old-time matinee theater. You know, we're going to sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. By the way, real quick, do you know the best creation of 3D that William Castle ever created? He would send to the movie theater. It was a movie with like ghost skeletons in it. He would send to the movie theater a skeleton on a string and a stick. That is the version of 3D that I want my impresario to be putting in theaters.
There you go. Well, you're only going to need the edge of your seat while you sit on it in eager anticipation of us finishing this conversation and deciding once and for all if 3D is worth it. We will be right back.
Moving is the worst.
Yeah, but it's exciting too. Our new Max Fun HQ office in downtown LA is actually going to fit all of us in it. Oh. And the new studio is going to be so nice. Plus, we'll have space for hangouts and events.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be worth it, but boy, is it expensive. Maybe we can get some help.
Hey, cool listener. If you want to get fun stuff and help us move, go to MaximumFun.org/Moving Day, where you can get vintage merch or buy naming rights to stuff around the office. If you help us move by buying something, we'll invite you over for pizza and beer at our new place. MaximumFun.org/Moving Day.
If you want to know what's going on in the world of movies, you should be listening to Maximum Film so we can tell you all about it.
Okay, but what if you already know what's going on in the world of movies? What if you're kind of obsessed with movies? Like maybe you have a problem?
Well, then you should definitely be listening to Maximum Film, because we too have that problem, and it's important you know you're not alone.
We're talking indies you'll want to seek out.
Blockbusters and blockbusting wannabes.
Classics we can't get enough of.
I'm comedian and writer Kevin Avery.
I'm film critic Alonzo Duralde.
I'm festival programmer and producer Drea Clark.
Together, we're Maximum Film. Smart about movies in Hollywood, so you don't have to be.
But if you already are, that's also great. And hey, we see you.
New episodes every week on MaximumFun.org.
All right. Well, I want to pick up where we were.
Yeah.
I would argue. Let me ask you this. Let me argue. Let me ask.
I think this might be our most. Let me ask you this is.
Yeah. It's a lot of let
in
me
a
ask
single
you this
episode.
I would like to know. Mm-hmm. Because you have identified 3D as a gimmick to get people to come to the theater, which I agree it is.
Yeah.
It's for James Cameron. It's like, this
Except
is a new
for
technology.
James Cameron.
I want to use it. And other filmmakers as well. Like, I want it to be 3D because it's a different experience. There is an artistic impetus behind it. But for you personally, Mark Gagliardi, what is the last feature-length movie that 3D convinced you to go to see in the theater that you would not have otherwise seen?
That I would not have otherwise seen is the thing. Right. If given a choice, I will sometimes pick the 3D.
What dictates that?
I think if it doesn't look like it's going to be a dark movie. I'm like Superman. Okay, I'm safe going to Superman. He does most of his fights in the daytime. I'm not going to go see a Batman. Yeah. I'm not going to go see Batman in 3D because Batman in 3D, I'll put those glasses on. It'll be like watching the Battle of the Bastards at the end of Game of Thrones. You just can't see anything that's happening on the screen. No, I would do. Yeah, that would be one. And that was, in fact, the last 3D movie that I saw in a theater. But in seeing that, do you remember the opening shot of that movie?
Yes. The one of him plummeting to the ground?
Yes. Like right by his Fortress of Solitude.
Yes. So
the first thought I had when I watched Superman in 3D was, that snow looks weird. The first thought I had of the whole movie after reading the opening moments and like the really great timeline breakdown. So no, I don't think it always works. I think there were moments in that movie that worked. I think there were moments that didn't. But the last time I went because a movie was in 3D was probably, I don't know, 20 years ago. Probably so Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Okay, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
16 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
that I specifically went because it was in 3D. Like that was novel.
If the purpose of it is to draw people out to the theater, I would argue probably that part of it is not worth it because it only worked on you as recently as 16 years ago. And a lot of movies have come out since then, well before pandemic.
Oh, there are numbers that show that it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
So that argument, that may be a purpose of it. I would argue that the innovations that make me more likely to go to a theater are the seat reclines. You bring me food. Like places where you can order food and have it delivered to you is really cool.
Those are great. I love those.
But I love big, comfortable seats that recline and have a ton of space in front of them. So when somebody comes to the aisle, they're not like those are the best theaters, which means fewer seats, which means they have to charge more for the tickets because they can't get as many butts in. Sort of like an airplane, like they charge more but they also put a bunch of seats. So it's like every 18 inches. There's a butt every 18 inches. And that's why you're all packed in there. Like they can make more money out of every flight. You can't make as much money without these formats. So 3D costs more. I would argue, my opinion is that it is not monetarily worth the value that it brings is not worth the amount they charge you for it. If it was the same amount as a regular ticket.
The thing. I don't know how much the upcharge is. And I am curious to know what the downsides are. I feel like you have spoken very eloquently about the other things that are worth it more to get you into a theater, but haven't really it feels like at this point, 3D could be sure. Also that, but you know what I mean?
Isn't it the ultimate also that?
Not necessarily. That's what I'm asking. I went into this thinking to myself earlier. I was like, I don't know, cause I know how you feel about 3D.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know my answer to this question. So I was like, I'm going to go into this wanting to give 3D a fighting chance because I know 3D has an uphill battle here.
You know, I'm not a fan of it. So you're taking the contrary position for the purposes of trying to save the theater. Let me say, we can save the theater. We'll put on a show.
That's the thing. I'm wondering if it saves the theater. I'm wondering if, in my case, then is it worth it? Is it worth it to go to bat for 3D? It's a thing. It's a fad that comes around every 30 years. It's a fun fad. It gets people back into the theaters at a time when it's necessary. Like, look, whether or not I went to go see Avatar because it was in 3D, a heck of a lot of people did. You know what I mean? So I think that, if the question is it worth it? What are the its? Is it worth it when we're talking about 3D? Is 3D worth going to the movies for? Is that the question we're asking?
Well, we said worth it. So it's a few things. Is it worth going to the movies for? Is it valuable as a tool to get people into the movies if you are an exhibitor or a filmmaker?
Is it valuable for storytelling?
Is it valuable for storytelling? And is it worth the money for the ticket? I think those are the four things.
Yeah. Okay.
So you want to do them one at a time and then we'll have a decision by the end of it? You want to start with? I think
so.
Is it worth paying extra? In your opinion, I will not give mine. I think mine's pretty obvious. In your opinion, is it worth extra dollars over the price of a regular ticket to see a film in 3D? Just you, Mark Gagliardi, as a film goer.
See, this is what's tough is I go, it depends. I don't know what the upcharge is.
I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, please do. Because that's it. I'm like, I would pay if it was a $20 movie ticket. If the movie ticket is normally $15, would I pay? This is where there's a quantifiable number. If a ticket is $15, I'd pay $20 for it. I wouldn't pay $25.
Okay. Let me find one that's in 3D.
Unless it's something I really wanted to see in 3D, which I usually don't.
Yeah. See, it's hard to find 3D.
After 2017, there was an absolute drop off because 90% of movies were doing that digital version where they just digitally make the thing 3 dimensions. And people were like you said, this looks like a pop-up book. I'm not interested. And the whole 3D movie market just crashed in 2017. That's the surcharge?
Yes. $3. Yes. Thank you. Ken just jumped in and pointed out.
Thank you, Ken.
$3.50 upcharge.
That feels worth it to me.
For 3D. That feels worth it to you. So monetarily, yes.
Monetarily, yes.
By which I mean, not the amount of money. Like it's any amount of money over the course of the amount of a regular ticket. You feel like the value you get from seeing a feature film in 3D. Like Superman, you were like, I'm glad I paid that extra $3.50 to see it in 3D because it added to my experience. The answer can be yes. I'm asking to get that's the question that I'm asking you to answer.
It depends on whether or not I think that for that movie, that is an enhancement to the experience or just a different experience.
So you just saw Superman.
Yeah.
In 3D. Mm-hmm. You paid extra for the ticket, whether you knew that or not.
I didn't pay for the ticket for that one. So that's a bad example of that.
Somebody else paid, but you still saw it in 3D.
How about this? This is one that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember paying to see the final Harry Potter movie in 3D, even though I know it was done digitally. I paid to see the final Harry Potter movie in 3D because I wanted to see the Harry versus Voldemort fight in 3 dimensions. That was the last time I specifically bought a ticket for 3D. So in that instance, for that movie, it's like the person selling me the ticket goes, hey, we have this really great movie. There's some pretty cool stuff in it that actually they have a version that's in 3D for a couple bucks more. And I asked the person, is it better in 3D? And they're like, well, it's a different experience and this is an enhanced thing. So to me, a couple bucks extra for that.
Was it worth it after you saw it?
Yeah, I think it was. For that, It was. Yeah.
So then extra $3.50, no big deal. Yeah. That's a yes.
Yeah, that's a yes. Extra, $10. No, forget it.
Extra 10. Yes, there is a limit to it, but $3.50, that's acceptable.
The extra $10 is usually that's the one that has the table service inside.
Now, is it worth it from the perspective of this will drive more people to my theater to see movies?
I
believe you said that the studies have already shown that is not true. So that would be a no.
In bursts, it does. But in the overall, I don't think it does.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every 30 years, there's that bump, but that bump happens because of a dip.
One yes, one no. Is it worth it artistically?
I think it can be.
Okay. I would agree also, like if you feel like it's important you have to determine as a storyteller what is and what is not important to your story. Yeah. I can disagree as an audience member, but it's not my job to create your art for you. Our job doing any kind of art, whether we're doing thrilling or improvising, is going like, this is what we think is good. This is what we think is interesting. This is what we think is funny. And the audience will either agree or disagree. That you don't really have control over. So artistically, I would say certainly worth it. That's a yes.
And then what was the fourth?
What was the fourth?
You know what? I was just trying to remember because it dawned on me that the 3 questions you've asked, the first one being, is it worth the surcharge?
Yeah.
The second one being, is it worth it to put butts in seats? And the third one being, is it artistically worth it? You've covered now the viewer, the executive, and the artist. Was there anyone in the pipeline, anyone else in the pipeline? I mean,
I don't remember.
If it's only the 3, then it is worth it.
Yeah. I mean, mathematically. So you think it's worth it? Do you want to say it's worth it?
I don't know.
I don't have to agree. Like I said, these are my opinions.
Yeah.
And the answer doesn't have to be what my opinion is. I just feel strongly about it that in now 45 years of going to the movies, I can remember one feature film where I thought the 3D was cool. And that was the first Thor in 2011. And that beyond that, I haven't seen a movie in 3D where I felt like it was really worth it. If more than not, like, I don't enjoy the experience of wearing the glasses over my glasses. I don't think it adds enough. Real D is a whole other piece of crap where you have the sensor in the glasses that if you move your head just a little bit, it like ruins it. I don't like that. Polarized lenses for sure. Way, way, way better. And I see what they're trying to do. It just doesn't, I don't know. That doesn't create magic for me. I got a lot more out of watching The Holdovers. When I went to see you've seen The Holdovers, right? The Alexander Payne movie with Paul Giamatti. It was the Best Picture nominee a couple years ago.
She won the Best Supporting Actress for it. Yeah.
Divine Joy Randolph won the Oscar, and Giamatti got robbed out of his. It's fantastic. That movie, I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and we had watched The Marvels same day. We watched it in 3D. We actually saw it twice. We saw Marvels, then Holdovers, then went to see The Marvels again, me and my dad.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed The Marvels probably more than most people did. But when I watched The Holdovers, I was on the edge of my seat, like just rapt at what was happening in front of me because the story was so good. I think that's such a well-crafted movie. That's what draws me in and has me like agog watching a movie more so than any gimmick can do. If the movie sucks, 3D doesn't make it better for me.
That's the ketchup.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's not ketchup on a hot dog. It's like ketchup on the floor at that point.
I mean, some floors taste better with ketchup. Some you don't even need it.
They all do if it's Heinz. But
yeah, that's true.
This is Hunt's ketchup.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't like that.
All right. There's one other thing I wanted to ask, and I think maybe we're narrowing in on it because I still don't know. I know your opinion. I know I've got my own, somewhat opinion on it. I'm formulating it over the course of this. It looks like it is worth it for the artist. It's not worth it for the executive. And in a sense, it's worth it for the patron. Mm-hmm. But that's the question. Is it worth it for the patron? Because we didn't talk about things like the dimness of the glasses, the eye strain, the nausea, those elements, the discomfort of a 3D movie that can take away from the experience of it. So I would argue at this point, it's not 2 points to 1. It's 1 to 1 to let's figure out what it is for a patron. And if there are other things that are like, at what point do the other draws that should be taking us and bringing us in and do bring us into the movie theater, heartbreak feels good in a place like this. What other draws that bring us into a movie theater is their prevalence and where they stand in this? Does that make 3D not worth it so that you can focus on other elements like just make the story good? And if you want more scope, make it wider. I don't know.
At what point did this show become the comedic premise of two dopes issuing bloviated decisions on things and then become two dopes thinking it matters that we get to the heart of this as if it's To Kill a Mockingbird?
How we have to approach everything we do with, do you think it's important that people go to see movies in theaters? Do you think it's important to get butts in seats? No?
I don't anymore. I don't in the modern sense. I think you can still make money. I think it's a good experience to have. I'm glad movie theaters are there. It would be sad to not have them. But I think it's important for artists to get their art out there in any way that it can be consumed and to have it consumed the way they intended. I did not care for Christopher Nolan trying to usher people in to watch that weird Black Lodge, everything moving backwards and forwards at the same time movie in the middle of a damn pandemic and going like, I think you should go watch Tenet in the theaters because going to the cinema is very important. Like, come on, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched many of your movies, a number of them in theaters. Like, enjoy your work by and large. This ain't it, bro. I understand it's your livelihood, but like, let's all concentrate on our health right now and not going to see your weird movie. Like trying to like strong arm people into like, I refuse to put it. And he's like a big IMAX guy. Not 3D as much, but like huge IMAX guy.
Yeah,
Breaks out those giant cameras and I understand that he is an artist and that is how he wants it to be seen. That was maybe a little bit more of a read the room moment for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I go by, I would say overall, if I'm putting a stamp on this, I would say it's not worth it.
And you know what, Hal? A thought just popped into my head.
What's that?
That makes me agree with you. After all of this, I think to myself, look, there are many ways that a theater is superior to a home experience. And it is the sound, the explosive sound in the room, the giant visuals, the experience of being in an audience, the experience of either enjoying or rolling your eyes when someone cracks a joke during a trailer. It's the experience that we all have together that happens in a theater. But this thought just popped into my head. A screen is flat. We want to watch things on a screen that is flat. If you want to watch actors in 3 dimensions when you are sitting in a theater, go to a play.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
Go to the theater with an R-E.
People of the world, there is a way for you to get 3D every time you go to see a show. Even if it's just a ladder sitting up there on stage. Even if you're looking at the fakest, flattest room or building you've ever seen in your life, it's 3-dimensional because the actors are moving upstage, downstage, stage left, stage right, getting bigger and smaller and happening real in front of you. Sometimes they're dressed as cats and they come out into the audience. Sometimes they're not dressed as cats and they come out into the audience. You might not like that. But hey, you're the one out there paying 350 cents extra. That's right. That's how I say it. 350 cents extra to have weird stuff seem like it's flat at your face, like that weird Bumble Bear that's not one of the Wuzzles. They take a Wuzzle and just put radio parts on it. I don't know. This isn't my stand-up. We'll save that for later. You can catch me at the Improv in Irvine later on while I'll be working this out on stage. And for now, I regret to tell you, 3D, not worth it. Asked and answered.
Well, Hal, we are over here in, people can't say, what is this, 1D?
Yes.
We didn't really even get into 4D and 4DX. Oh, man. Just real quick, Hal, before we go on. Did you know that with 4DX, you can get a rainstorm right inside the theater? And I'm not talking about just spraying in your face. They will make it rain in a movie theater.
Yeah.
That is worth it. But this isn't. Asked and answered. Sorry,
that's
3D.
Why I stay home.
Oh, I'll just come. You know what? I'll come over and do all the 4DX stuff for you. I'll just spray some of that grapefruit air freshener that you gave us.
Appreciate it.
Ooh, now this room smells like grapefruits. Every room smells like grapefruits.
It's the mess hall in a Florida retirement community.
At breakfast. Oh my God. Oh, there's 200 of them out there today. All right. Give me exactly 100 grapefruits and a whole lot of sugar.
Daddy's got to get to work.
This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com or
find us on the social media at We Got This Podcast, with the exception of Instagram, where we are at We Got This Show. Yeah, go to the Facebook group if you want, but really Discord is where it's happening. bit.ly/WGT Discord, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a bunch of content on there. We're always putting more stuff on there. We are at We Got This Podcast on YouTube. So please subscribe so you don't miss out when the new content hits you. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kilman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, for giving us a chance to sit down and talk about all this stuff that we love and all this stuff that we argue about, and getting Hal and Ken into an argument as this episode began. Nothing delighted me more. So thank you for that. May we all gather together at a 4DX theater and experience bubbles, fog, wind, strobes, snow, spray for face, hot air, and scents all together, having an experience together like we do every week. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows, supported
directly
by you.